After the frustration of the abandonment in Abu Dhabi, we turn our attention here at World Triathlon to the stunning city of Hong Kong for the inaugural World Cup race to take place on this city's shoreline. And they are out into the harbour in Hong Kong for the first time that a World Cup event in World Triathlon has taken place in these waters.
Yeah, and it does look fairly strung out towards the front end of the field there. So two British athletes really putting the pressure on here early in the swim.
Very much where you'd expect, particularly Rappaport, who must be so eager to put on a big, impressive performance here. Not just wearing the #1 and being back in the, of course, competitive field, but also wanting to put on a show as well, like all the Americans are, when you consider how high their hopes are going into 2024. And I don't think anybody's mentioned it yet, but Paris 2024 is coming up, maybe on some people's lips for, I don't know, the last 18 months or so.
Yeah, a good opportunity for these athletes now to come here to Hong Kong and race here. Yeah, look at that backdrop. Absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, if you weren't so busy in the water as an athlete, dare to lift your head up and have a look at the skyline that's spread out in front of you. You can see how congested it is a lot further back, with those athletes making the final turn before heading for home. Probably have a job on their hands trying to catch the British woman out in front, though. Sophie Alden still leading them through. Just trying to stretch out that field as much as possible. She certainly had improving results towards the back end of 2023, did Alden, particularly in the form of her World Cup results. Very strong as well in the European Cup events, consistently around the top 10 in those. Starting to make their way out of the water. It's the two Brits who are the first out onto the slightly wobbly pontoon, keeping their balance and up the steps and heading towards transition. Casper up there as well, along with Rappaport. Jeffcoat there, Zafiris, the Americans in a strong position.
Sean Rainsley there, Way of China. Yeah, Howell of Canada as well, Emma Jackson of Australia.
Alden getting out on the bike almost straight away, along with Mateus. Casper up alongside them as well. Rappaport's going to be hot on their heels behind them. Be interesting to see now how this group of maybe 5 or 6 or so start to try and work together, or start to try and push the pace from the front.
We've got 3 athletes here in the lead, the 2 Brits, the American, and it looks like potentially the likes of Emma Jeffcoat and Code joining up. We know Emma's really strong on the bike there.
Yeah, the first 10 out then were Mateus, Casper, Alden, Jeffcoat, Zafiris, Rappaport, Rainsley, Sean Rainsley, the British athlete wearing number 50, Cecilia Santamaria, Wen Wei and Sophia Howell, but Xin Yulin right on their heels as she came out of transition and out onto the bike, so there could be a few more just joining up with this group of, what is, 7 athletes or so.
Yeah, so that's a really nicely sized group, Ollie. 7 athletes, great sized group to work together really well there.
At the moment, they're pushing out a fairly sizable lead, around about 30 seconds or so at the moment from the group that's just coming through now, the chasing field that is fairly mob-handed, to be honest. There's a lot of them in that group, but that gap is still only about 30-odd seconds. It's just opening up a touch more over the last lap or so, as they're on lap 3 of 5 here now.
Yeah, and you can see Teresa Fersinger and Julie Darren have now joined that group. So that group, that's 32 seconds back. So they haven't actually gained too much insofar as the gap to the front group is concerned. I think that was at 34 seconds when we last looked. So it's now at 32 seconds, but they have managed to catch that group of about 13 athletes in front of them.
When you think about worst case scenario for some of the better runners in this field, how far back is too far back when you get to a 5-kilometre run? You can't surely be looking at 60 seconds and thinking that can be made up.
Yeah, I would say, 30 seconds probably max. So that group of 15, they're probably on the limits of that so far as trying to get on the podium is concerned. So we've got athletes up to 24th. So Summer Rappaport sitting in 24th coming through after the last lap at 33 seconds. So yeah, unfortunately those athletes a little bit further back, it's going to be a little bit difficult.
Looks very smooth and steady out front, doesn't it?
Yeah, they look organised. They look, quite relaxed there. 3 British athletes, Sean Rainsley, Sophie Alden, Olivia Matthias, got Cecilia Santamaria, Emma Jeffcoat, and Katie Zaferis, Kirsten Casper as well.
No silly mistakes needed. Dismount before the line and get into transition and through quickly as possible and out on the run. The run that's going to be equally as fast as the bike has been, and the bike has been pretty rapid fire indeed.
Jeffcoat wasting no time, really. Slick transition there. Sophie Alden heading out of transition there with Olivia Matthias as well. Sean Rainsley.
It feels like the Commonwealth contingent are going to be leading them out with Zaferis, the 2 Americans, her and Casper, along with Santamaria hot on their heels. But the front 4 are going to try and get out at a good pace, and Alden's going to lead them out on the run.
We didn't get a last split for that last lap of the bike, but it did actually look like that chase group had made up a bit of time. We can just see some of the athletes from that chase group now coming out of transition there. 7 has now become 4. We've got the 2 Americans and the 2 Brits right up front there. Katie Zaferis, Kirsten Casper, Olivia Matthias and Sean Rainsley at the front end of this race here today.
Well, clear grit and determination that they're all running with out at the front. Rainsley now just doing her best to get past Zaferis and challenge Casper up at the front. The British athlete's going to take top spot for the moment. Jeffcoat's just continuing to fall further back and further back as Deron has been able to catch her, as has Bravo. Look how much the athlete from South America is really grinding on that tarmac, on that uphill section.
So yeah, Kirsten Casper, Sean Rainsley, Katie Zaferis, Olivia Matthias, our 4 leading athletes. Matthias just dropping off slightly there now.
Rainsley still just keeping the Americans behind her for this moment.
Sean Rainsley has not been on a World Cup podium, so if she's able to get onto the podium here today, that will be a debut World Cup podium, and that will also be a message to the British selectors. Sean Rainsley had her funding cuts, unfortunately. It is tough. It's so competitive with those British athletes. I suppose not everyone can be on funding when there's so many quality top athletes. It is really, really hard.
Yeah, there may be a bit more just coming back her way, though, if she can find a gold medal here today. Podium finish, impressive anyways. Casper now just looks like she's perhaps dropping off the leading 2. She's had a look over her shoulder to see if her position is under any sort of threat. Doesn't look like it is at the moment. With Santamaria that bit further back, you can still see that nice gaily drive of Bravo in the background as well, still trying to catch up with some of the leaders.
37 years old, Elizabeth Bravo, 3-time Olympian, obviously trying to qualify for her 4th Olympic Games.
It's Matthias, excuse me, that she's now taking. She'll have her eye on Santamaria just a bit further up the road.
It still looks like that's sitting at about 10 seconds or more to Elizabeth Bravo there, chasing from 4th place. Sean Rainsley now making a move on the downhill here.
Really allowing herself to start striding it out, Rainsley. It's looking hard work for those at the front at this point, but Rainsley is just starting to eke out a bit more of a gap. Whether she can keep it for the final few 100 meters or so.
Yeah, so she made a move on that downhill, and she's now got to really push hard on this little incline, and perhaps that was her tactic. Push on that downhill, push on this little incline, see if she can get rid of these 2 athletes sitting in 2nd and 3rd, Katie Zaferis, Kirsten Casper.
And Zaferis can only watch along with Casper as the British athlete is starting to stride out a touch more. He looks in a really confident stride as well.
Yeah, that gap looks at like about 4 seconds, I would say.
A quick look over the shoulder. A small check to ensure that it's not going to be any sort of sprint coming from behind that's going to catch her on this final run-in. Rainsley is going to rule in Hong Kong. A first podium and a gold on the podium for the British athlete. A beaming smile and a devastating victory. Frustration for Zaferis who certainly needed a victory perhaps more than anybody else in this field today. It's only going to be silver for her as she's joined by Casper on the podium. And how about this for a finish as well from the Ecuadorian Bravo and Zane too, the Italian, who have worked their way through the field. But how about that for a result for Rainsley as the British athlete rules supreme in Hong Kong above all others.
I didn't race much last year, I was out injured, so just being back on the start line I was excited. I felt a bit more relaxed just because I was like, let's blow off the cobwebs. I knew I'd put a good winter together. I'd been training a lot with my partner Tom, who just podiumed in a 70.3 this morning as well. So yeah, it's a good day for our household.
And amazing to have your dad here to welcome you at the finish as well. I mean, yeah, with so many subplots going on at the moment, just a brilliant time to be putting together this kind of performance.
Yeah, I mean the British women are so strong, like crazy strong, and I think we all like motivate each other. We've got a nice team, and it's just great when we all like have good results and yeah, can back each other for that.
And to be able to pull that run together off the back of a tough bike with a tough group out there as well, and that final descent through that tunnel was the right moment.
Yeah, well, I only just made the group. Like I had to ride quite hard on, so I was like, phew, that's a relief, because I could see it was a good group and they were going to work well together. So I was happy to make that. And then, yeah, I just used the downhill to try and get going. And then I was like, I knew it was less than a track lap to go at the transition, and I was like, just sprint as hard as I can. So yeah, it paid off today.
Outstanding performance, well done.
Thank you, thank you.
The last race I did, I DNF'd, and a DNF is always very hard to put yourself in the right mental spot coming to the next race. So I'm really proud of myself for this race. It wasn't an easy second, it was a hard fought one. So yeah, I'm just really happy I strung together a decent swim bike run and transitions as well.
Yeah, that swim was the first point to get dialed. It was choppy out there was a lot going on, and like a good late surge to keep you in that front pack.
Yeah, for sure. The swim felt a little weird, but I just tried to stay relaxed and just like, I think near like Summer's feet or Kirsten's feet, and so I was just like, just stay connected and knew take it piece by piece. That was a real big focus for this race, was not to get too far ahead of myself.
And a lot of work you were doing on that bike. There was, a couple of you doing a lot of the work, but to know that the legs were there straight after as well, it's got to be tremendously satisfying going into a big couple of races ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I tried to do a good amount of work on the bike. There was a lap or two where I felt like I didn't do my job, but I tried to help as much as I could.
It's great to be back on a podium. Honestly, I didn't decide to do this race until 2 weeks ago, so this is a great way to come to Hong Kong for the first time and get back on a podium. It feels really good.
How did that run play out? There was a couple of moments, there was good cat and mouse going on, you were testing them, then they reeled you back in, and yeah, it's so difficult to know when to judge and what to do at the right time.
Sure, this early in the season I didn't know where my run fitness was, so that was definitely a mental battle of yo-yoing back and forth. I wanted to really try to be strong and make sure I was on that podium and fight even for the win, but no, those girls got me today and they ran amazing, so I'm just glad to be part of that podium.
Yeah, totally. After a bit of disruption at the start of the season, this really is job done. It was podium or kind of have a rethink, right? So this is fuel to the fire.
Yes, exactly. And this winter I had to approach things differently with my injury last year. So that was great validation that what I did this winter paid off. And I'm grateful to my team for helping me figure out how to get back to the podium.
The comeback queens, if you will, of Sian Rainsley and Kirsten Casper dovetailing the podium spots with Katie Zafiris taking the silver between them. Elizabeth Bravo and Ilaria Zane with impressive runs at the end to find themselves 4th and 5th. Cecilia Santamaria just couldn't quite hold on with the leaders, dropping down to 6th. Olivia Matthias as well, another one in that group, just coming up in that 7th position. Julie Deron fighting back to finish 8th. Erika Ackerland and Zuzana Mikhailikova are in 10th and 9th respectively, wrapping up the top 10.
Congratulations once again from Great Britain, Victoria Harbour.